All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hey, thanks for joining. Glad you're here. How are you doing? Ah, I was I was just trying to fix some audio issues, so I hope it's fine. Let me know in the chat. Well, the stream is live. Oh, I saw myself for a second on the other screen. Yeah, so we did some coding yesterday, and I just feel like doing some more. I see Adrian here. Adrian, it's good that you're here because yesterday you solved my issue in the comments after the stream. So I'm glad you're able to catch it live, and I hope that whenever I run into any troubles, you will be able to solve it. So. Yeah, yesterday's stream was fun, and I woke up today and I saw that the Laravel, what's it called? The State of Laravel 2024 survey results just dropped. So I wanna start by taking a look at that. Actually, it sounds interesting. I always read them, and I'm like personally mostly interested in seeing how the community embraces static analysis and how that evolves over time. So, but there are other interesting things there. So that's what I wanted to start out with today. Actually, let me do this for a second. Oh, Adrian, you like the rise of Livewire? I've only scrolled through it quickly. I didn't even see the Livewire stuff. So, but let's take a look, shall we? So, I'm already my camera is a bit in the way, but I think I can solve it like so. Oh yeah, I should probably let the people on Discord know that I'm live again. By the way, if you want to join the Discord, the link is on tempest.stitcher.io over here. If you wanna check it out, there are now a handful of people. I think we're nearing 100 people interested in Tempest, which is nice. But today we're talking about Tempest, or at least that's what we want to start out with. Oh, my camera is like totally messed up here. A little bit up. Yeah, I'm a streamer pro. So, yeah, that's what we want to look at in a second. But first, here, the state of Laravel 2024. Laravel has been created more than 10 years ago. Today, it's the most popular PHP framework used by thousands of developers each day. I watched only a part yet of Taylor's keynote at Laracon, and he mentioned like 250,000 installs per day. That's insane. Let's check here. It's packages.org. Yeah. Let's check Laravel, and okay, so what was that? 46 million installs, and I think over here, daily installs, average monthly. That's 25k. But this is, I should probably check out Laravel framework, right? Yeah. This is. I was thinking this is a bit low on numbers. Yeah, I don't even gonna bother reading that. So, okay, yeah, so around 200 to 20 to 30k installs per month. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty insane. So yeah, Laravel, it's the thing. And actually, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think Laravel is the greatest thing happening to PHP, and it's gonna like. It has so much potential for the future still. I really think that if we're talking about like a PHP revolution in the future, it's gonna be thanks to Laravel. I'm pretty sure of that. So yeah, let's continue to read here. The emerged ecosystem around Laravel is huge, and new trends are popping up all the time. This is interesting, by the way. The new trends. I do feel like sometimes. Like you see this happening in Laravel, in JavaScript, right? All the latest and newest things. I do think that we need to be careful of that. Like riding the hype train too much, especially if you're like working in real projects. But the yearly State of Laravel survey is an attempt to gain insights into the representation of the diverse technologies and behaviors of the outstanding community. The results obtained from 2021 to 2023 can be viewed directly in this report and filtered on each question according to your own preference. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. So this is made by Tobias, by the way. So okay, there are 500 less participants compared to the first year. So let's just take that into account. A little bit of a smaller group, but still 4,000 people. It's not bad. So okay, yeah, gender seems like to be a little bit more female, but like overall there's not much changing here, unfortunately, probably. But yeah, I mean, this is something when I was studying, like. We already saw this trend in school, right? So, like a male majority within the sector. So yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much to say about that. Besides, yeah, that's unfortunate. Location is this is actually interesting. So many more people in Europe than I expected. Like 50% of respondents here are in Europe. Interesting. I would have expected like the US to be to have like a bigger majority here, but still, on the other hand, like if you look at PHP in general, there are more PHP developers in Europe than in the US, so it might make sense. Okay, but now it gets really interesting. So how long have you been working as a developer or all learning to become one? So that's with with learning included. That's how long is that for me? Hang on. I was 13. I was 13 when I started programming. So that's 17 years now. I'm in this group. I'm with the biggest group basically. Adrian is 20 years plus. Yeah, nice. That's impressive. Yeah, I don't have like these kind of hero stories where people tell you, yeah, I remember the days of like having to write COBOL or having like a modem where you had to call in and you couldn't use your phone line. I'm a little bit too young for that. Or we were just late getting internet at home. That's a possibility as well. And then years of Laravel experience. Let me think. For me, I'm in the... that's 2017, I think. So how 7 years around that. And the present is the best time as a programmer, Adrian says. Yeah, you're right. But you know, like people telling these war stories, it comes across as they've lived through a time that I'm unaware of, and somehow it's an enrichment. Although maybe it's not. Maybe it's just holding them back. That's also a possibility. So, are you publishing to or contributing to open source projects or packages? There's a decline here actually, and I wonder why that is, because it seems to be a consistent decline. Interesting. That's yeah. That I would assume like it to grow, no? Or maybe it just indicates that like the open source scene is like getting stabilized, if not saturated. I'm not sure about that, but that's an interesting data point. The thing I find the most interesting is to compare these stats over time and not necessarily look at them in the present, because yeah. So it's more people doing open source. Thanks, Adrian. That's I don't know why I read that as yes and no. Okay, so there's a growth here. Okay, that makes more sense. Although like not that big of a growth anymore. Again, I'm not gonna try to draw any conclusions there. But this makes more sense when you think of Laravel. You think of a large open source ecosystem, right? primary operating system. There is an increase in Mac actually, which I think is a good thing. I don't understand how people work on Windows. I genuinely don't understand. For Linux, I kind of understand for people who have the time and like the the persistence to just hack their things together. I mean, I used Linux for quite a while, but in the end, you know, it just works on Mac. And I was so sick of just having to configure everything myself, basically. Primary code editor, PHP Storm, still the biggest one, but there's a decline here. And there's a small growth for VS Code. You know, it's totally fine, of course. I do wonder, like, where this is coming from, because I would assume that these are, like, the decline here means mostly these are new people coming into PHP and just keep using the editor they are used to. So because, like, as far as I know, there's not really a decline in user base for PHP Storm, but it is an interesting data point, and especially with the latest things that were announced on Laracon US. Like, it seems that Laravel has quite big ambitions here. Taylor mentioned how the company has grown and how they really want to, like, continue to build Laravel, but also like help shape the PHP ecosystem. So that's really interesting, and I'm really curious to see where all of that is going. And the more newcomers that are coming to PHP, I think it makes sense that they are not jumping straight into PHP Storm. And Adrian's mentioning here the plugin that Laravel is working on. Yeah, exactly. That for VS Code, that might actually make it so that more people use VS Code. On the other hand, like, the things I've seen from the demo, I still think PHP Storm has way more to offer. But I mean, I get that for many people, like, the basics are good enough. So we'll have to see. I'm actually working on a getting started course with PHP Storm, and I believe it, like, a first part will be released in next week, I hope. Because you know, I understand that opening an IDE for the first time, it's quite daunting, actually. I remember the first time I opened PHP. I was a Sublime Text user for years. Can you imagine that? Like, no autocompletion, no formatting, just basically text editor. It had very basic support for PHP, but it was very, very basic. But I downloaded PHP Storm, and then I think it took like another year before I actually started using it. And I followed the Laracast's course on PHP Storm, because it's like it is intimidating booting up an IDE and like finding your way around it. Like, there are a lot of things going on, lots of keyboard shortcuts, which are also accessible via like menu items, but you want to learn the keyboard shortcuts. But you're like, okay, where do I start? You know, while with an editor, that onboarding step is a lot easier. So yeah. Anyway, that is a problem, and yeah, I'm trying to help solve it a little bit for PHP Storm. There's also this Laracast's PHP Storm course now. So I followed the PHP Storm course on Laracast. I think it was something like 10 years ago, 9 years, I think. And then Jeffrey last year made a new course, actually, revisited the old one. So it's updated now. I'm just putting it out there. If you wanna, like, if you're like, I'm using another editor now, but I want to check out PHP Storm. I would say, like, this the Laracast's course is really great and will really help you. Alongside that, the getting started that I'm working on are just very small tip videos, like get started in 5 minutes, basically, and just find your way around the IDE and then you can dive in a little more deeper with Jeffrey's course. Anyway, yeah, super interesting this, and it will really be interesting to see how both these numbers evolve in the coming years. Let's hope that PHP grows, right, and that there are a bunch of newcomers. Not because all of them might be using PHP Storm, but it's good for PHP, right? I think we've been seeing this thing going on the past year. There seems to be some momentum going on, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where PHP is going. As Scott is saying here, hoping the new Laravel VS Code extension makes its way into PHP Storm. Yeah, that would be nice as well. There is, of course, Laravel idea, but I don't want this to turn into a marketing talk. So, but yeah, I mean, makes sense. We'll have to see. I think it's good for PHP that, yeah, there's just the momentum is growing, and like whatever editor or IDE you're using, it's good that people are discovering the language and discovering that PHP is actually quite good. So, other languages here. Which other languages do you use? A little less JavaScript. I like these numbers, like minus 0.02%. They basically don't matter, I think. TypeScript, that is an increase. That's interesting, and that's a good thing, I would say. By the way, I don't know if you've heard, I think I mentioned it on a stream here. What's it called? JavaScript or ECMAScript erased types or something like that. Yeah, type annotations. They're working on this, right? They're working on having type annotations in JavaScript itself. So instead of this, you could do this. It seems very similar to what PHP has, but on the other hand, as far as I understand, these annotations are totally ignored at runtime. I did a video about it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into that rabbit hole once again, but yeah, it's super interesting that languages are evolving, and that TypeScript was definitely like a big like motivator for JavaScript to look at at this side of programming as well, more typed side. Python, interesting. There's still like 25% of people are also using Python. Interesting. And Go as well, 12%. That's not nothing. And Go is seeing some growth here. Java is seeing some decline. C#, C Dart, actually Rust. I expected Rust to be a bit more like the same as Go. But well, Swift, Kotlin, a little bit Ruby, Objective-C, Perl, other, and none. I mean, that's interesting. I guess HTML doesn't count as a programming language, right? So, in which context do you work with the Laravel framework? Business, like most people, but also interesting. 60% of people almost are using it as hobby projects. That's nice. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. And then team size. This is always interesting to me because when I worked at Spatie, we were in this category. So, you know, the way you tackle projects is so different based on your team size. I would say that, well, and like personally, I don't really have much experience with this category of developers, and even now with PHP Storm, like I'm not working on PHP Storm, of course, but I see the development happening there. It's still a relatively small team of developers and QA engineers and stuff like that. We're in PHP Storm is in this category, but like the real enterprise level is I'm not really that aware of, and interestingly enough, like most respondents, they are not in this category. So this is just I think a reality for PHP in general. Like the big enterprise companies, they probably aren't using PHP, or not for projects that like require these amounts of team sizes. So 1 to 5 is the majority, and like, oh yeah, there's an interest in like a separate one for 1 as well. Okay, so 1 to 5, yeah. Mine that's expected, I would say. Yeah, like it's characteristic of PHP in general and Laravel as well. Yeah. It's also interesting, by the way, like programming choices and the patterns that you're using and, you know, opinions that you hold. They are very, very influenced by the types of projects you're working on, and does like the team size as well. And this is something like we should realize that, like, for example, Jeffrey Way did a great video about, let me actually search for it here. Where was it? Laracasts, the intermediate trap, right? Yeah, this video, you should check it out after the stream, of course. Can I want to do paste it here, but paste. Okay, there we go. This is Jeffrey's video. Yeah, and he talks about a very interesting an interesting pattern, the action pattern, which I mean, I don't mean to boast here, but I kind of pitched it to begin with Laravel Beyond CRUD a couple of years ago. Like these classes that just perform an action, right? They have a handle method or an invoke method or whatever you want. That's the only thing they have, and they take some input, they do something with the input, and then they return output. And you can test these actions in isolation. You can split them up however you like. And Jeffrey is like, he's promoting this approach. I really like it. However, there was one like thing I didn't 100% agree with, because Jeffrey started with an event-driven controller here, and he makes the case for this is very complicated and there's a lot of indirection going on here, and then he refactors like dispatching an event to just having an action, right? So it's really good. By the way, I have to like it here. Oh, this is my recording account. That's why I did it. It's really good, but I don't think we should dismiss an event-driven approach altogether. Coincidentally, I also wrote a book on it a long time ago, like event-driven Laravel, I believe. It's published by Spatie. You can find it if you want to. So while an event-driven, more indirect approach, it has its drawbacks, it also has benefits. And the benefits sometimes outweigh the drawbacks based, well, depending on the type of projects you're working in. And so in larger projects, larger team sizes, and like for me personally with Spatie, it was like, yeah, there are some use cases for a more indirect event-driven approach, but there often also weren't. It really depended on the type of project. But like there is a certain size where it becomes more useful. And it would be too much of a rabbit hole to dive into to discuss the pros and cons here. But I think it's just interesting that if you look at these numbers here, then yeah, it makes sense that Laravel leans more towards a direct approach when it comes to patterns like using events or not, because like with these team sizes and coincidentally like these consequently these project sizes, you don't really get much benefit from an indirect approach. You mostly get disadvantages. So that's just interesting. That's interesting to remember when we're in discussions, right? That context matters so much, and we shouldn't forget about that. Adrian, you did a talk on a local meetup about actions. That's pretty cool. I'm really happy that how the pattern was embraced by Laravel. They are so powerful and easy to test, and that's absolutely right. Something I like, a variation on actions is like the command pattern, which also introduces indirectness, but it makes testing even more easy. And yeah, like again, too big of a rabbit hole to dive into, but I might need to do a video about it. I did I did make a video about it. Let's see here. It has a weird thumbnail, I remember. Yeah, here. I switched to using a command bus. This was an hello old me. This was I made a game once, right? Well, it still exists. Dungeon. Oh yeah, but I don't have a login here. Hang on a second. Let's see. Let me just show it a little bit. This is all Livewire and Laravel and Livewire, right? And it's this kind of dungeon crawler kind of game, and like every action that happens here just triggers a command in the backend, and all of these commands are tested individually, and like the goal is to find some treasure stuff, and then there's a lot of things to do here, to find artifacts and then find the next one. Anyway, let's not play too much games here, but this was really fun to make, and I actually started out with actions, and then I refactored to commands, and that's what this video is about. And it's really, really cool. It has some really cool effects, so yeah, you can check it out. Let me paste that in the chat as well. Why not? There you go. Check it out. So yeah, I've been going on about this question for a long time now, but it's just very interesting, and I think that these numbers also show a little bit why like Laravel, the majority of Laravel developers hold certain opinions. Their opinions make sense within their context, but again, context matters, right? Cool. Now we're moving on to the more technical stuff. So PHP versions, I am really surprised by this. Like PHP 8, 3 out of 4 developers are using PHP 8.3. That's amazing, because if we look at composer statistics in general, when was it? June? Version stats, July, yeah. So PHP 8.3, let's see here, only has like 20% usage when looking at the whole composer ecosystem, right? So that's a huge difference, and I think that's really, really great that Laravel is so much pushing towards using newer versions. That is like super good for PHP. It really is. You can actually see like I would assume that the people falling off here, those are the one already migrating to PHP 8.3, and that's really good. It really, I'm really surprised by it. On the other hand, there are also still quite a lot of projects here with PHP 7.4, PHP 8, 8.1 even only has security fixes anymore. So yeah, and if you look at my statistics here, that's actually there are actually more projects using PHP 7.4 in Laravel compared to like general composer stats. So that's interesting. So on one hand, there is a lot more new usage, but I would expect like old projects, they don't get updated as much. So yeah, that's interesting. It might have something to do with like Laravel, like older Laravel versions. No, I should say differently. Like newer Laravel versions, they don't support older PHP versions. So like if you want to update to newer PHP versions, you also have to update to newer Laravel versions. That's what I'm saying, which is a good thing. But like updating Laravel every time is like an extra hurdle. That's just an assumption. But yeah, it's an interesting data point. So let's actually check Laravel versions here. So majority is Laravel 11, but yeah, there is still like a pretty big usage on older versions as well. And Adrian is saying here, you don't trust composer stats as they also count CI installations. That's true, and that's why you shouldn't look like these stats. they aren't meant to be interpreted in an absolute way. The only thing these stats measure is the shift, the what's the word, like the evolution, right, of like how it evolves over time. That's the only conclusion you can draw from here. And then CI usage doesn't really matter all that much, because in theory it should like grow linearly, in theory. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah, these are the package things. I still think I actually start my my blog post with making some disclaimers here, but I still think these stats they do add value, and you can draw some conclusions here, but you just have to be careful. But that's with these stats as well. I mean, 4,000 Laravel developers, there are 250,000 installs a day. These are not representative of the Laravel community, you could assume, right? Pete, who are meanwhile I'm over here maintaining used space. That's the project I worked on at Spatie. Do you work at Spatie, Pete? It's okay, Pete. Oh no, Gem 24. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Hi, that's my code base, Pete. I hope you don't have too many like angry feelings about it. Yeah, we should probably talk after the stream. I'm really interested in learning more about how the project is doing. So databases, yeah, you took it over from Spatie, I reckon. Yeah, databases here. MySQL is dropping a little bit, and MariaDB as well. SQLite. This is so interesting. I think it makes sense again for the kind of projects that the Laravel is being used for. And yeah, sorry, I'm still reading the chat as well. Yeah, it's giving me some chuckles, Pete. I really appreciate you saying that. No, but SQLite, there has been this movement the past year, and you can see it happening here, and that's really good. I think I really like the SQLite movement for like projects where it makes sense, right? Apart from that, I don't think there are many interesting things to say here. Front-end libraries, I think it would be more interesting to just have these. Oh, I clicked something. Oh no, hang on. Filter, let's remove it. Uh-oh, front end, okay. It would be more interesting having these split out. I don't know. But yeah, let's, so like right now, there's not really that much to say about it, but okay. This one is interesting as well, more server-side rendering compared to client-side rendering. And this is a good thing. This is why PHP is getting like, there is a renaissance coming. Like, yeah, people are embracing server-side rendering, and it's good. It works. It's better than having to deal with client-side rendering. Oh, we have this internal, well, it's not an internal tool, but it's like a SaaS product that we use for HR related stuff at JetBrains. And I was doing some stuff with it yesterday, and it's this single page application. Oh, it sucks so much, like so many bugs. And yeah, we need this move to happen, like more server-side rendering, only do JavaScript client-side stuff, and it really makes sense. Yeah, here, and this is a good thing, like Livewire is growing, Alpine is growing. These are great things to happen. And because like Livewire, if you don't know, like it's more server-side than anything. You re-render view server-side. It's kind of like HTMX, right? I use re-render view server-side and then just swap them out in the front end. And that's what I did with that game, right? So yeah, apart from that, it seems pretty stable. Decline in most JavaScript libraries actually. React a little bit of growth. Vanilla DOM modifications is growing as well. That's good. That's kind of the Alpine way as well. jQuery declining, Vue declining. I think those are good things. But hey, I'm not a front-end developer, so what do I know? But Livewire, yeah, it's so good, so good. By the way, I'm gonna add HTMX in Tempest as well, which is kind of the Livewire equivalent, like the standalone Livewire equivalent. You don't need Laravel, so yeah, that's on the roadmap as well. So Tailwind, they're splitting it out now. That makes sense. So Tailwind is growing, Sass is declining. Like if you were at yesterday's stream, I'm having to port over my blog's CSS, which is written in Sass, SCSS, I don't know, to just normal CSS, and I'm dreading it. It's probably the most like stupid part of the migration. It really is. So vanilla CSS is just kind of stable. Tailwind is growing. You know, I still have mixed feelings about Tailwind. I know like you should create components, reusable components, and then use CSS like that, but I just, you know, you just end up with, like, let me show you RFC vote here. I like Tailwind, by the way. I don't want to program with that, but it's not perfect. Like, let's see here, RFC. X tag, tag dot blade. You just end up with like these long, and this is a small one. I don't know, RFC dot blade. Some places there are like huge lists of just classes, and I don't know how people keep it maintainable, honestly. I don't have a good example here. Maybe it was on the Tempest docs side. Let's see here, docs. And I know I'm probably doing it a little bit wrong, but yeah, like you could make components for this. True. But then you would need a crap load of components for like basically everything, because not everything is the same. And I'm kind of against like making early abstractions, which kind of feels like if you make a component for everything and try to make everything reusable, you're just going down a rabbit hole as well. And one of the things that really attracts me to Tailwind is that you can just write classes right in line. Well, it's not in line, I know, but you can just write them then and there, and it just works. You know, you don't have to go to another file. So yeah, I don't know how people would deal with these kinds of big lists of CSS. I really don't know. Classes, I mean. Anyway, are you using any library to build administration panels? That's an interesting question. This is interesting here. Did you see Adam Wetton's Laracom talk? Not yet. Some of the things he was doing with Tailwind was horrid and literally the opposite of showing what it's good at. Yeah, interesting. No, I should. I'll definitely watch it. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like I don't want to write normal CSS either. When I'm in a project that's not using Tailwind, I miss Tailwind, but still, it also becomes a mess when I write it, and I don't know how to deal with that. Anyway, admin panels. I'm not really interested in that. Development. Which PHP development environments do you use? Herd, local web server, WAMP, XAMPP, Laravel, Valet. Again, this should have been split, because I would be really interesting to know like how many people are using Valet, which I'm still doing. I'm like old school. How many people have switched to Herd? How many people are actually using a local web server? I think it would be interesting to get some more insights here. Or maybe that's coming. I don't know. Laravel Sail, Docker, stuff like that. Yeah. Quite a lot of people actually. PHP Artisan Serve, and quite a lot as well. I like this as well. Like for Tempest projects, I also have this serve command. It's easy. You don't have to set anything up, but it doesn't always work. Like for some cases, like yesterday's stream, if you were with if you saw it yesterday, And there was an issue. Yeah, that was because of PHP's built-in server remote and virtualized. Not a lot of people, or not a lot of people. Which methods do you use to debug your source code? Oh, this is interesting. Like dump and die, right? It makes total sense that this is still on top of the list. Debugger is declining. This is like, we've been thinking about this with PHP Storm as well. Like, how and why do PHP developers use debuggers, or why don't they? And like, there are so many cases where using DD is just simpler. And there are some cases where I find that like going through the motions of enabling the debugger and then using it is actually helpful. Like, there was this stream a while ago where I had to boot up Xdebug, and yeah, it's really interesting. The thing is, like, it's not built into PHP. So with every PHP update, you have to packle install Xdebug. That's the first thing. Then you have to enable it in your PHP ini. You have to configure it. Then you have to toggle it on and off if you don't want performance to be affected too much. And yeah, it's an absolute pain to set up. And I know Derek did like a video about this, or a live stream about this with was it? I don't remember who it was. With someone. And he set it up from scratch, but still there was so much friction. I felt like it was presented as, oh, it is so simple, but no, it should be one button. I just want, if I want to like have a clean install, press this debug button, and I want it to work, and I don't want to do anything with it. That's how debugging should work in PHP, and that's not how it's working today. And you have to set it up once, and it will save you many times, Vitaly is saying here. But here's the thing. Yes, I can set it up once, and then I enable it always. And then you run composer install, and suddenly it takes 5 minutes instead of 5 seconds. That's one issue, right? So I disable it, right? I disable it by default. But then I have to enable it if I want to debug a test, for example. So then I have to go back into my PHP ini file and re-enable it. Then I update my PHP version, brew, upgrade, update, I don't know, PHP. And then suddenly it's not there anymore. So packle install Xdebug. There's so much hassle to that. That is not developer friendly. And you could say, oh, it only takes 5 minutes. Yeah. Well, people are lazy. So and like this is. So what happens when I start a debugging session, right? I start with DD or LD now, log dump. Anyway, that's the Tempest thing. I start with the simple var dump approach, right? And with every step, I'm like, if it's a difficult thing to debug, because 80% of times it's just one var dump statement, it doesn't make sense to boot the debugger at all. But like the 20% of times, more difficult problems to debug, you're like, okay, it's one more step probably, and then I'll find the answer. Let's just do one more var dump statement. And like when you're 10 minutes in, you're like, I should have just used the debugger from the start, but now I'm already committed, right? And it's probably only 2 or 3 more steps before I find a solution. So it doesn't make sense to boot the debugger now. Yeah. No, but I think the debugger is really useful. And it has good use cases. I'm not denying that. Like the 20% where you have difficult problems to debug, it's really useful and it is helpful. And I use it from time to time. But there is too much friction. I don't know how else to say it. It should ship with PHP by default. That's the first thing. And it should be easier to toggle on and off. You shouldn't need a Chrome extension. You shouldn't need to change ini files or pass flags. And this is something I think PHP Storm can help with as well. And I made an issue for it, and they are looking into it, like how we can toggle Xdebug on and off behind the scenes so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. We'll see if that works out. But yeah, it's just, I mean, people are lazy. Right. And I totally get it that if you just spend 5 minutes, you're going to save so much time. Yes, but it's too much friction and people don't do it. If it was worth it, if it was easy enough, more people would do it. I mean, that's just the reality. Like there's an analogy in my head here. Water flows I don't know the phrase in English, but water flows, takes the easiest path, right? The path of least resistance. That's what developers do as well. And you might like it or not, and you may say and shout that it's so easy, but apparently there's too much friction and people don't care enough, and they just go back to DD. And that is my chat talk for today. I'm sorry for the rant. Let's go back to debugging. But I mean, if you have opinions about it, share it in the comments, share it in chat live if you want to, and distract me some more. Let's see here, because people are talking about it. React PHP framework development from scratch. I don't know what that is about. Metaphorically speaking is here. Hi, he's making good videos as well. DD will not help with big projects when you have to find a bug or compare two executions. With DD, you will spend much more time actually, which is true. I'm not denying that. It's that level of friction. And again, let's think about context here, because when we looked at, what was it, team size, like a lot of Laravel developers and a lot of PHP developers are working on small projects. That's the reality here. So while I agree that in bigger projects it's a lot more useful, there are a lot less of these projects. So context matters. So, but I mean, I agree. Debuggers are great in normal languages. I've used debuggers in Rust and Go, but in JS, it's so useless because of minification, and PHP, it is tedious to set up. It's not just 5 minutes if you have a complex Docker, that's another thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's another big problem. Yeah, so, I mean, say what you want about it. The reality is, like, it's declining, right? It is. So, yeah. And what's interesting, I was thinking about it, like Ray, right? Ray app, I don't know. Spatie, Ray app. myray.app. myray.app. This is interesting, right? Spatie was able to make a paid tool, which is basically a fancy var dump statement. And people pay for it, right? So just think, like 50 euros a year. I like Spatie. And like Ray is great. But think about this. If people are willing to pay 50 euros a year for a glorified var dump statement, then you can say whatever you want about Xdebug being good and helping, then there is too much friction, okay? In my mind, it should be one button, press the debug button, and it should work. And I should do nothing else. It should just work. I'm still ranting, I'm so sorry. Anyway, I hope you don't mind. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to QA. This is interesting as well. So there's a growth in testing, which is great. Should I, like, there are still comments coming in. With Xdebug 3 it became a bit easier to set up, but true, it's quite confusing when you run your app in Docker. You're on point with Ray, thank you. Let's move on. Testing. Testing is growing, which is good. And there are some courses on testing, and Pest is really great for Laravel as well. I've talked about this before, right? I did a talk with Nuno as well. I like Pest. It's different, and there's again some friction for me having to upgrade, and so I'm still using PHP unit, but I reckon there will be a day where I'm using Pest. I'm surprised by this one, like such a big growth in coding standard fixers, which is really great. I mean, you just slap it into a GitHub action and you just have it fix all your code for you and don't worry about code style anymore. That's really nice. Static analysis, I'm happy with this as well. Not that big a growth. Like I remember the JetBrains dev ecosystem. But this was last year's, of course, except let's see here. Let's search for PHP, and then what was called PHP stem. Yeah, there was a bit more growth in general, like 3% here. And let's compare here. Oh no, no. There was actually a bigger growth in Laravel. Yeah, because the JetBrains one is still going on for 2024. We don't have data there. But this is great. Like static analysis keeps growing. I don't really know about SOM these days. Like, are there any people using SOM in chat? Let me know. I feel like PHP Stan has kind of like won the scene, but I'm not sure. I definitely feel like when I use PHP Stan in Laravel projects, it's more stable and less like false positives compared to SOM. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't code without static analysis anymore. So let's take a look here before continuing. Some other tools, doesn't really matter. Just for you, my first interview for Laravel Pest in my profile from Symfony developers. Would like to hear your feedback. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, but good, I guess. I started testing my business code when the client requirements exploded in complexity. It started taking me an hour to manually test functionality. TLDR, testing changed my life and is awesome. I wish I had started testing earlier in my career. True, yeah. I really like for Tempest. Like we have this composer QA, composer QA command, right? And if you've seen me program on Tempest, you know what it does. But it just runs code style stuff, static analysis, test suite, and it has become a bit slower lately. I noticed, and I need to do something with that because it used to be faster, like the test suite here. I need to look into that, but it's green, good to go. So yeah, I really like that. That being said, I did kind of forget to test this line. To do test. To do. This is like the bug after yesterday's stream. I fixed the bug real quickly, and then I didn't have time to write a test for it. Anyways, static analysis is good, but so slow on bigger projects. That's a good point. Yeah, I do wonder, like. You see this in JavaScript. I feel more often that they are writing tools in Go and Rust to like help with development. And I wonder like if there's if it would make sense for PHP as well to have a static analyzer that's not written in PHP, because let's face it, like PHP isn't the fastest thing in the world, and it's fine for a lot of projects, but for static analysis you want things to just move along. So yeah, I don't know about that. Source code hosting, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter, I feel. Let's take a look at production here. So how often do you deploy releases to production? Almost daily, a few times a week, a few times a month. That's the majority. That makes sense, and it seems to be quite stable here. Not much to say about that. PHP runtime, DigitalOcean, Hetzner, Linode, and so on. Rented web space package, Heroku. Okay, yeah. So like these just virtual machine server thingies, super cheap, super easy. That's kind of like it's a big benefit for PHP. Serverless kind of well now. It's staying stable. I wonder, did we ask anything about that serverless? Yeah, there was in the JetBrains ecosystem, there was a little bit of growth there. Interesting. Again, that's yeah, interesting, especially since like Laravel is kind of also promoting serverless, right? So, but let's not draw any conclusions there. Seems to be stable. And also again, context, right? Not all projects need a serverless backend. So, monitor email flare sentry, yeah, 50%. Oh dear, uptime, stuff like that. Laravel, can you do monitoring with Forge? I didn't know that. Interesting. And yeah, consistent growth all over the place, I feel, which is good because like a lot of projects still aren't monitored apparently, because I guess there will be a lot of overlap here because there's multiple choice, right? So so that's interesting. Come to think of it, I also don't really monitor my websites, but most of them are statically generated, so that's fine. And also hobby projects, right? Now, the direction of Laravel, it's moving in the right direction. Not really much change here in opinions. Maybe a little bit less agree strongly. And it, like I said, it will be super interesting to see where Laravel is going the next couple of years. They hired a lot of people. They have big plans. So yeah, it will be super interesting. And like I said, at the start of this stream, they might actually like start or are already starting the renaissance for PHP, which is great. It's really great. It might mean that some people like don't really agree anymore with the direction the framework is going, or the ecosystem, I should say. But like in general, they're doing very well and like super impressive. If you think of it, like 10 years ago, one person was writing a framework, and now there's a company of 30 people, right? Yeah, that's really interesting. Looking forward to it. Keep that in mind, the PHP renaissance. It's coming. It's coming. Simplifies development, opinions. Yeah, this shift a little bit. It kind of stays the same. And you know, it simplifies development. Although I have to say, if I can just quickly plug what I'm working on, like no, Laravel is great and Tempest cannot compare to it. But having worked so much on Tempest now, there are a lot of things that I think, oh, Laravel, oh, it's so difficult to set all of this up. Why so much config? Why so much writing? So much, yeah, this could have been so much easier. And then I go back to Tempest, right? Do you think Laravel will be used for big projects in the future? I mean, people are already using it. I think this question, you shouldn't ask this question about Laravel specifically, but more about PHP in general. Like big projects, big companies, there is so much more going on than, oh yeah, let's just use this technology or this framework because we like it. And yeah, and honestly, I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to have an opinion about it. So PHP is already used in bigger projects, but it's definitely not the majority of PHP projects, and that's a reality. I think that's just PHP. I don't really see how that will change in the future. But I do think that many projects are over-engineered and could have been much easier to write with PHP. That's another question, right? So I enjoy working with the Laravel framework. Again, the same sentiment. It's all good. Innovation speed is, people are neutral about it, and this is, yeah, like neutral is the biggest one, but most people also agree a lot. So no, that's that's already the last question. Now, by the way, talking about innovation speed, like it's interesting. Like the bigger your project becomes and the more traction it gets, the more difficult it is to actually innovate, because innovation usually means breaking things, and the bigger your user base, the more difficult it is to do that. So, yeah. Let's. Where is this going? Let's take a look here. How are we doing on time? It's 10. That's fine. I don't know, how long have I been streaming? Let's see, let's check. Okay, an hour. I wanted to do one more thing here. that's the Laravel state of Laravel 2024 survey. Really cool. Some interesting things, right? The debugger, folks. The debugger. We really the debugger. If you like meet me at a conference or anything and ask, hey Brent, let's talk about Xdebug, I think we can go on for an hour or so. Thanks, Tobias, for doing this every year. Super interesting, super insightful, and yeah, looking forward to the next one. So great. If you decide to stop watching at this point, I hope you don't, but because we're gonna do some coding yet. But yeah, just leave your thoughts in the comments as well. And don't forget to leave a like. But I'm gonna stay for a while longer. But just if you happen to have to go to somewhere or don't want to do some live coding with me, then leave a like. Okay. So yeah, this one, this needs to change, folks. We're gonna total switch. We're leaving Tempest. We're leaving Laravel for a second now. We're going back to Tempest. So I'm hang on a second. Window management. Yeah, here we are. So let's see here. View render test. There are two things I want to change. Two things. First, allow variables to be passed in the view function directly. That's an easy one. This is just, I'm using the framework and I notice that it's just, these are things I do naturally and they don't work and they cause too much friction, and I need them to be here, right? So this one is a very easy one. So let's go to the view function over here. So this one returns a generic view, and then you can chain, let's see here, then you can chain the data method on it, right? And I basically just wanted to be able to write this, honestly. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. That's super easy. Params mixed, and then we'll say data params. Now we can do both ways, but it's gonna be better this way. Right? Is this called params? Yeah. Oh, it should be mixed. Mixed, like so. Let's run Composer QA because, well, I changed the test controller, so it should just, if something breaks, then I need to drink something. If something breaks, then my tests will tell me. By the way, my voice, I've started doing singing classes. Like I started Monday singing class, and then yesterday was my first time like music lessons, like musical notations. It's difficult. Like we learned 2 notes, and then we have to like sing them on a I don't know the English terms, but like a bar. It's fun. It's like a hobby. I always wanted to do this, and so I finally made time for it. But view function to get data directly. So I've been singing the whole evening yesterday, and yeah, my voice might still need to recover a little bit of that, but good. We can close this one, and now this one, allow to use variables in views directly. So well, let's see here. Why didn't I? This is better. Views. Let's see. Where is this? Yeah. I wonder why I cannot click on that. Anyway, overview. So hello, this name world, and what I want to be able to write is, is this. Okay. So now one test should fail, or multiple tests. And let's actually just run my test suite over here. And again, it's just it's something I keep doing and I keep running into, and you know, just I need both things to work because it's getting too annoying. Overview. Then I wonder, why does this work? Why does this work? No idea. Okay, let's just ignore that. The test is failing now, so that's good, right? Fail asserting that this hello world. Oh, no, it's using a wrong file. Or does it? Oh, no, hello world, because that's the backup, right? Okay, yeah. So, how do we do this? Let's go to our view renderer, our Tempest view renderer, actually. And let's check out render here. Actually, no, we need resolve content. Let's take a look, because here if it's not a PHP file, then blah blah blah. Otherwise, resolve the path and we include it, right? And so here we need our local variables. So here we need name instead of this name. And so if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. So this data gets. Hang on a second. Oh no, it's in the view. So view data, get data. So this array contains all the views data, right? Okay, and now we need to import in the local scope, and there is a PHP function for it, but I can't remember the name. PHP import into local scope. Import. Does anyone know in chat? Variable into local scope. There's like this function where you can like give it an array and it will import it all as variables in the local scope, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Do I have my thingy here? What's the function name for what's the function that takes extract? Import variables into the current symbol table. Okay, I was looking for the wrong thing. So extract, and then we say, and we cannot do this probably. View get data, or can we? Oh, we can. And that's all we need to do, I think. Let's see whether anything breaks. Oh yeah, here. This is what I thought. Why does it work? Pass by reference. Okay. Does it work now? Here we go. There we are. Good. It works. Allow view data to be accessed via the local scope. And that is another issue fixed. Like that. So what I wanted to show you as well, something I've been working on behind the scenes, so to speak. Let me open this project here. So hang on, let's remove everything here. delete. Vendor can go. Oh, this and this can go. And source empty. So this is an empty project, right? Oh, you should add a flag extra skip to extract. What does the flag do? Because it works. Hang on a second. PHP extracts extra skip. If there is a collision, don't override the existing variable. Ooh, yeah, that's actually important. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, let's we'll come back to this, but first flags extra skip. Are there any other interesting flags? Extra override. If there's a collision, override. If there's a collision, prefix the variable name with prefix. Prefix all variable names with prefix. No, we don't want it. Only prefix invalid, blah, blah, blah. Extra if exists. Only override the variable if it already exists in the current symbol table. Otherwise do nothing. That's not what we want. Prefix is if exists refs. Extract variables as references. That's not what you want. Prefix is the prefix. Okay, cool. Thanks for pointing that out. Who was that? Adrian? Yeah, thank you. Add extra skip. Okay, so back to our dummy project here. So this is just an empty project, right? So source and okay, it has nothing. So let me just show you some, like I like doing these things. So composer require Tempest console. And this is something like we wanted to do with Tempest and it now works. So okay, that's just the dependency required, right? And like there's vendor bin. I hope it works. Okay, so there's the Tempest console, right? And it has a couple of commands with it. I still need to figure out like if I want to have all these commands, but the general thing is, so it includes discovery commands, which are useful. Well, actually required for Tempest to work. The schedule commands are for scheduled tasks, which are part of the console component. And then there's tail. Maybe I should move the tail commands to somewhere else. But so what happens if you write tail, right? It starts listening to different logs, and then if you require composer require Tempest debug. I actually haven't tested this. Let's see if it works. I don't know if will it work out of the box. I don't know. Okay, if it works, I give it a 50% chance. Okay, let's do require there. Oh, it was there. Oh, no, like this. Auto completion, come on, yeah. And then you do hello. Okay, and now we run this file, right? Index.php. It will write here. It doesn't write there. That's unfortunate. I still need to fix that. I don't know. Will that work? It might work. Okay. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to show you, but this is the console command thingy, right? That comes with Tempest. Oh yeah, and these. Let's remove these now because of log. I still need to make that configurable where these log files are written. But this is a cool thing, like hello world, right? Or let's do just hello and then no. Hello. Just an no. Let's do world void and we'll just say console command, right? And use has console for convenience, and I will just say this info hello, and now it's just here. See, this is what I like it just works. So I'm doing that with all Tempest packages now, so that you can just install them from scratch. without the framework needed, without anything. Like there's then the debug package, right? Which just it wraps Symfony's var dumper, but it does a little bit more styling, and it has these labels which I like, which maybe are already available in var dumper now. I can't remember actually, but you can also click to the file and it's just formatted a little bit differently, better in my opinion. Anyway, so yeah, okay. So that's cool. And there's also like this composer require Tempest event bus now. This one already works, but for this one you need a little bit more setup, because you need a Tempest kernel, right? And for the console and for the web applications, there are classes that just say boot the application, but for an event bus, you don't really have an application, you just need a container. So you need to container equals, or you could just do new kernel init like this, and it needs a new app config, and app config needs the root directory. So that is a little bit of setup, but that's the only thing you need. And now you can trigger events. Like, let's make this an event instead, and then have an event handler. Hi, handler, and the handler will say this method here, it's an event handler, and it takes the hello event and echo hi, something like this, and then you say new hello, and then it should work. Oh, like that. So let's see here. What's being written in the comments? I'm just nerding out about this because I like it. It's a data variable. You may rename data variable because it's a pretty common name. That's a good point. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's say data. One is enough. Like this. So that's better, right? Rename data for view extraction. Push. Okay. Charlie, how would you name it? Because it's mixed, no specific data, maybe view data. Oh yeah, named var args like data, if I'm correct. If someone passes a data variable to the view, it won't be extracted. Yeah, true. So, okay, but that's fixed now, right? How does the event bus discover the handlers? Is the container scanning for the attribute? Oh, metaphorically speaking, you asked the right question. Yeah, this is a pretty big thing in Tempest. It's called discovery, right? So when the kernel boots, and honestly, I want to be able to write this. So, but yeah, like this. But okay, the kernel boots, right? And it will do a couple of things. It has like these 3 steps. It's gonna bootstrap the discovery locations. It's gonna bootstrap the config, and then it's gonna actually bootstrap all discovery classes. And let me show you here. Do I still have my vendor? Vendor bin installed. Yeah, discovery status, right? So Tempest will basically scan your whole code base whenever it boots, and this is cached and it's fast. And it will check a couple of places, and these are listed here. So every package that has Tempest as a dependency will be discovered. Every source namespace you have listed here in your root composer file will be discovered, and every Tempest core package will also be discovered, right? So Tempest will find all these folders for you, and they are here, right? These are just installed in vendor Tempest. Oh, so Tempest will discover all this code. And then there are classes provided by Tempest or provided by you. They are discovery classes. So let's open discovery here. And they implement a discovery interface, which has a couple of methods, mostly for caching, right? But that's provided with a trait. And it has one important method, that's the discover method. So this method will get all classes in all these locations previously listed here. And this method can decide to do something with it. In this case, well, let's go to the event bus discovery, event discovery. Yeah, here we are. So the event bus discovery, right? You can assume that this method is called for every single class in your whole code base, all your vendor packages. It just works. And then you can do anything with it. So in case of event bus discovery, you want to find all methods, all public methods that are tagged with the event handler attribute, right? So you just loop over all public methods. You check whether there's an event handler attribute. If there isn't, we're not going to do anything with this method. If there is, we're going to check whether it has one parameter, which should be the event, right? We get the type from that event. Let me show that with some code. So we have this method here because it's tagged with event handler. We get the first variable. There should be only one variable in case of events. Event handlers might change that in the future. We get the type, and by the type we know which event this is, right? And then we add it to a config. And basically this config then is used, let's see here, this config is this very simple class, and it has a list of handlers and middleware. And this one in turn is used by the event bus. Let's see here, yep, over here. The event bus has this config available, so whenever we dispatch an event, we'll check whether there are handlers for the event, and if there are, we'll call the handlers. So that's how that works. Let's see, just a reminder, do not scan attributes without caching. It's a really hard operation from reflection. No, it is like, I don't think it is. It's like we stress tested this, and it works very well. Like thousands of files to be scanned, and performance is just fine. Now for production, you do want to properly cache all of this, but that's handled by Tempest. So you have discovery. Oh, why are there two things here that I don't know? Like you have this cache file over here, and whenever you run discovery again, so they will be populated in caches, and all data is there, and it's just serialized PHP. We will look into further improving this in the future, because I'm sure there will be performance issues at a certain level. One thing that I'm sure of is that we'll add some caching for different caching drivers, because now it's just a file driver, but we can add support for Redis, for example, and we can what would be super interesting is to, if you're running PHP as a like a long-running process with something like Frankenstein PHP, what's it called, Franken PHP, or Laravel Octane. Well, you wouldn't run it with Laravel Octane, but something similar. Then you just could keep these config files in memory, and you wouldn't even have to cache them. So that's yeah, possible future improvements. Does an event handler needs to be callable? Can I have a handler with multiple methods? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can name this whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Right? Because let's dump the event here instead. Hello. Like this would matter if you were using discovery cache. So let me actually show you that, because discovery cache is disabled in local environments, and in this case, yeah, you would actually need to pass a variable here. So discovery cache is true. So let's make it true now. So it just keeps working, right? So it's now actually using these cache files. But if I were to change this now it's breaking because, you know, it's still trying the old method here. So I can call discovery clear and then it will work again. But of course, for local development, you would have this on false all the time. Now, and there might be cases, like I said, we stress tested this and it seemed to work just fine for local development where you don't have caching enabled. But the problems arise when you have multiple requests coming in at once. Then you start to notice performance problems if you don't have caching enabled. There might be some problems with performance. But in that case, we can easily just have partial caching where we're only like clearing caches for specific components, for example, during local development. But we'll see how that works in the future. For now, it works fine, and I don't expect people to build like enterprise level projects with Tempest yet. Are you planning to handle exception handling the event handlers array to prevent events being called if an exception is thrown? Well, hang on a second. Are you planning to handle exception handling? Something with exception handling. I'm not sure if I understand correctly, but one of the things that comes to mind here, if you create a config thingy and you say events.php, this can be named whatever you want. Return new event bus config. So remember this config file, it's config object, it's populated by discovery, but you can create an instance from it that's then passed to the event bus discovery. So the handlers, we don't really want to do anything with it, but we can add middleware. So let's create an event bus middleware here. So my middleware, right? And then implements event bus middleware. And now, like this. Actually, I hope this works. It should work. It should work. So what Tempest will do is, like these config files, for now they must live in the config directory, but we're gonna change that. Let's see here. Yeah, so now there is a middleware in our bus. So now you could do something like try next event, right? I'm such a noob. Can I even write PHP? I don't know. And then catch, for example, let's say we have a special type of exceptions we want to catch, like my event exception, right? Extends, I must remove read only here. Exception, yep, sure. Constructs, like so, and then parent construct. This is an exception, and let's say like this middleware, it should only catch these exceptions, right? And otherwise it just should fail hard, for example. But in this case, I don't know, we might want to write something to a log, or we want to trigger a new event, or whatever you want to do. Let's just say, let's just write catch caught, like this, and otherwise we'll just crash, right? So let's go to our handler now, and let's say our handler throw new my event exception, like so. Then we should get this caught message, but if we say throw new runtime exception, it should just, you see. So that's exception handling. You could well, like middleware is pretty powerful, and it's available in the event bus. It's available for console commands as well, by the way. It's available for web applications, console commands, event bus, and the command bus as well. So yeah, it's that's Tempest. But you see, like, I'm excited about this. This is super easy. And the thing is, you can composer require Rampest, Tempest event bus everywhere. You can do it in a Laravel package if you want to. It's not stable yet, but you can do that, and it will work. You will have to do this, right? You have to boot Tempest. And so I want some kind of method here that maybe just Tempest boot or something as like a shorthand. Actually, let's make an issue for that, because add some kind of Tempest boot method in Tempest core for headless packages. And with headless packages, I mean there's no application being booted, like the console application, and there's the HTTP application, but the event bus is it needs the container, right? Oh, and by the way, because I'm using this event function, but that's just a shorthand. If you boot the kernel, you get an instance of the container, and you could also do container get event bus, like so, and then you have the event bus available here, and then you can just do event bus dispatch new hello, like this, and I can just run it like so, right? And then we have our runtime exception here. Let's do it like this, and now we have our middleware. So that is pretty cool, right? Yeah. Yeah, I like Tempest. So, how long have we been streaming now? And there's still 41 people watching. That's really nice. It's been a while. No, but you know what? I feel like I want to add this boot methods. Is that okay? Right? If you want to hang out, maybe you have a question, just share it in chat. I do wonder, like, are you all just working with me on the background with my soft and what's the English name? My soft sweet voice, anyway, the event bus with middleware seems to have a similar implementation to Symfony Messenger. Why not use that? Consider also cases with async transport and failure handling. Yes, because we're writing our own framework. So yeah, that's why. No, because like starting from scratch, that's kind of the goal with this, and just exploring like what alternatives there are. We actually have some things planned for different transports, as well as like more failure handling, what you're mentioning. But this is a start, right? And it's just fun. It's fun to work on. So yeah, that's why. Let's see here. We have Tempest. We already have this class, which is kind of annoying because it's in the framework. So okay, here's the thing. Here's this class, and you can just call Tempest boot, right? And the boot method, it will check .env. It will load environment files, variables. It will create an app config with like environment files, exception handling, discovery cache enabled, and whatnot. This I should remove. This is actually just let's to do remove. Then it creates a new kernel without initializing it. Right. And the thing is, you write Tempest boot and then you say HTTP run. That's the ID. Or you write console run. And this works for HTTP and console, but like there are headless cases where you just want the container to be booted. So I think I should rework this. I think it should be something like this. Tempest boot is all you need. And then if you want a console application, you should do console application boot run, something like this. And actually this already works. So if you console application boot, it already does this. The thing is, there is some duplication here. It's manually creating the kernel. So that means if we have our Tempest boot method here, we can refactor this as well. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's check the comments here. So people are indeed working with me in their ears. Well, hello there. I'm glad you joined, and I'm glad I can entertain you. But Sergio, you're actually taking a break and watching me. That's nice. Cool. So let's do that refactor, because like this framework folder here. Oh yeah, one thing I should mention is that all of these packages, like it's a mono repo, but it's split into several packages. The framework code is just kept with the framework. So actually this folder, it should be empty at some point. But like the event bus over here, this is a package on its own. It has its own composer file, and it's split automatically into a separate GitHub repository. So the core package, this is the important one. Core is what all packages, Tempest packages, require. And it has discovery basically, and the kernel, and that's it. And it has a requirement on the container as well. So let's move Tempest here, because we want to ship this class with like the, sorry, brain freeze, but we want to ship this with all packages basically. So we say static boot, and oh yeah, so it has an instance to kernel, but we don't need this anymore. We say static boot. We do our environment variables loading, and we do our app config, and let's say the root is nullable actually, and we can just use the current working directory if there's no root passed. So we make an app config. It should we be able to actually let's do this. App config is null. Let's do it like this. So I think that makes more sense. Yeah, but here's the problem. We need to know the root in order to load our environment variables, but we might not have an app config. But that's easy to solve, right? Root is app config root or get current working directory, and then we do it like this. Yeah, this works. Let's check here. Just checking, split doesn't contain a test. No, but that's something we need to improve actually, because I want every component to also have its own GitHub actions. But that's work in progress. Let's remove this. No, this is only here for local testing, but I'm gonna remove it. Then we create a kernel, and it should return a container, right? Because with the container, you can do everything in Tempest in it. Like this. And it returns a container. So that's the wrong is that the wrong container? Yeah, that's the Laravel container. I actually don't know why that's oh yeah, that's here because of the blade dependency, optional blade dependency. You can use blade as a template engine. So then we can remove this and remove this, because that's gonna move to our applications and kernel. Do I call this method somewhere? No. Okay. So now, like so. Okay. Now let's go to our HTTP application, because it's actually doing like this app and app config and stuff. It's doing all of that. So we can do container equals Tempest boot. and we'll give it app config. And so over here we pass in the root as well, but I don't think that's a good idea. If I don't know what's the best approach here. Let me think. So I'm just let me show you in this. So composer require Tempest HTTP, right? And then we'll create a public directory with an index. We'll say require once vendor. I want the dir to be here. Like so, and then we'll say HTTP application boot and then run. That's basically all that needs to happen. But in this case, we need a root path, because for HTTP applications, the root path will always be different. It will always be this. Well, not always, but usually. But you also want to be able to pass in an app config if you want to. And then you have to like duplicate the root here. That's kind of what I don't like. Then you have to do it once more. There. So of course you can do it like this to clean it up a little bit. And all of this because I want app config to be optional, right? And I want, if you don't pass it in, that let's see here. Ooh. So I want app config if it's null to use like these environments. So maybe it makes more sense to do it like this. String root. It's not entirely the best, but I don't know. I think it's good enough. I think it is. And you could use the current Tempest class as an instance object and assign the container as appconfig and appconfig as a member variable. That means the boot method would return new instance of Tempest. That's true, but that's just more steps for what I want to do. I just want people to call Tempest boot. Why not instantiate a default appconfig if nothing is passed? Because of the simple reason that I want the default app config to use environment variables. And that means I need to load those environment variables first. And for that, I need to know the root path. So I cannot have an app config which contains the root path without knowing the root path. That's the problem. So I'm gonna keep it like this for now. And this is okay. This is okay. So for our HTTP application, we boot it. So we boot Tempest. We get a container. Then we create a new HTTP application, which requires the container and the app config. Then we bind it into the container as a singleton. We do some logging config, and then we return the application. Now for the console application, it's a little bit different. The boot method requires a name and an app config. It doesn't require a root because we can do this get current working directory. That works for console applications as the default, but app config root like this. this. That doesn't work for HTTP applications because they live in a public directory usually, and you cannot use current working directory because current working directory via a web server is something entirely different. It's not the right place, right? So kernel container, we can do this. So we can do Tempest boot root app config, and that's container, like so. And then again, we well, in this case, we just resolve the console application via the container. That's actually something that can be refactored, I think. Can be refactored. Resolve via the container. And then application specific config, sure. So let's do this. Yeah, the reason, I don't know if we need this. The reason we do this, by the way, is to make sure we have the singleton instance, but it actually should work without. Yeah, anyway, that is all of that. By the way, have you benchmarked Tempest with JIT on versus off? Not yet, but I did benchmark a lot of things with the JIT in a recent-ish video, and it didn't really make that much of a difference. Laravel has lots of magic, get and random debugger statements in Eloquent, which makes JIT impossible, but maybe JIT could have a bigger impact in a web framework with more static types. Maybe. Console application line 33 needs to use root. That's me, check here, 33. There is no line 33, but I moved some things. Hang on a second. Oh, 31 you said, but there's also no 31. 929. Thank you for that. Cool. I mean, more type-ins and more static dispatch instead of class string method. Yeah, but you know, the Tempest ORM also uses some magic. Not as much as Laravel. Okay. This needs some cleaning up, honestly. But let's keep it as is for now, because the user-facing API will be pretty clean. So, oh yeah, and this needs to be nullable as well, because if it's nullable, root equals root get current working directory. We want this, we want it to be like this, I think. Let's run Composer QA and let's see what happens. It breaks. Call to undefined method Tempest generic. Ooh, Tempest 8. Oh yeah, of course. I need to hang on a second. Yeah, of course. So now I need to console application boot and current working directories, the default. Okay, and now I need to change my public thingy here as well, because this also doesn't work. HTTP application boot this path and then run. And I expect, hang on a second, is there? No, okay. So let's rerun this. And then we'll also have to, let's see, the install command. That's an important one, because this one uses Tempest over here. This one was already using the right approach. And then let's double check here, install, which it will copy like files. copy index, this one. This file is now correct as well. It's actually, that actually won't work, I think, the install command. Let's copy this over to I need to improve this install command. I'm not gonna do that now. I'm not gonna do it now. Okay. Let's see here. This one, yeah, it's removed. That's fine. Refactor Tempest. Like so, and now some things will break, but I'll fix them. So Tempest app is like the composer create project thingy. Composer up, and it has this, right? So it won't work. Yeah, mute. Let's index for a second. So we need to update these files when indexing is done. It takes a while. Okay. So composer up. Okay, now this breaks, I hope. Yep. So, well, we don't need this anymore. We need Tempest. No, we need HTTP application boot run. And then in Tempest here, we need console application boot run. And actually this can be gone. So that should be that. Let's see, update Tempest. And there are some GitHub actions here that should, in theory, work. Who knows? Uh-oh, pull. Okay. Let's see. These two should work, and then we're fine on that. And now let's take a look at over here. Back to what we actually wanted to do. So all of this composer up. Okay. So we want to remove this and say Tempest boot container. So this is cleaner, right? And what was index? And it worked. Cool. Nice. So that's just a little cleaner. That reminds me I need to update the docs now also. Let's see. This is what I want. The docs. And then components over here. Now this can be replaced with this, and this can be replaced like so. Cool. So this is a good, there's a light that went out anyway. This is a good refactor, I feel. Update docs. Let's push and then deploy. Whew! Wow. We did quite a lot of things. Has the stream been going now? 2 hours, something like that. Almost. It's time. It is time. Hello, Yassine. You're right in time to say goodbye. Yeah, I'm done for today. Was a super productive stream. Thanks everyone for being here. Before I leave a like, okay? That helps. And leave a comment if you're watching afterwards. I like that. Super productive. We looked at Laravel. We did some coding on Tempest. Nice. Thanks for being here, and thanks for having me on your secondary monitor, or in your ears, or I don't know, on a big wide screen just focused on me. No, but I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you the next time. So subscribe as well. Last time I ended the stream yesterday, it cut off. I don't know. Don't understand why. So I'm going to add the cue screen for another minute before I end the stream, and then you can still say goodbye in chat as well. So okay, see you later. Bye bye.